You can hear this message in its entirety again online, as well as Richard's entire archive at talknetworkradio.com. We would like to acknowledge our theme song, How Great Is Thy Faithfulness, from the America's 25 Favorite Hymns album. Unless otherwise expressed, scriptures are read from the Holman Christian Standard Bible, which is published by Holman Bible Publishers in Nashville, Tennessee. Additional resources used for Reflections on the Word with Richard Kay include Great is Thy Faithfulness by Our Daily Bread and printed by Discovery House Publishers. Again, here is Richard to wrap up today's message.
This particular segment of the introduction of Paul's letter in the book of Romans is tantamount to being able to see the function of Christian believers in the world today. Because Paul is describing the unbelievable position of man's depravity. He is describing what they have actually done, where they understood that there was a God that created everything. It was shown to them. They could see it clearly, but they denied that relationship they would have with the living God. And instead, they began to worship their images of men and birds and four-footed animals and reptiles, all the idols that they could have brought about. They began to worship those things that were created instead of the Creator. So here's what God has done as he describes it. In the 24th verse, he says, "Therefore God delivered them over in the cravings of their hearts to sexual impurity, so that their bodies were degraded among themselves." Today, believers, we need to understand we are living in a world where if people think they should be able to control their own individual desires, that they are able to pursue anything that they desire because it would satisfy them, then they can actually practice all of the things, and many that have been described only in part in Paul's letter in the book of Romans. But there is a very important position that is explained. And that position is that God delivered them over to the cravings of their own hearts. But he delivered them in one specific way: sexual impurity. This is an area that we're going to discuss more fully as we read further in the book of Romans. And that is today's reflection on the Word.
Thank you, Richard. Join us again tomorrow when we continue with the next edition of Reflections on the Word with Richard Kay. For Richard and the entire team, this is Chuck Christie saying thanks for listening to this edition of Reflections on the Word.